Good morning, students. I hope you're all able to hear me. So, today I'm going to start with the first class for this month. So, I'm going to analyze yesterday's newspaper. Let me just get confirmation from my voice. Good morning, students. Good morning, students. Yes, I am able to hear myself clearly now. So, on that note, I can safely begin with the class. Today, a warm welcome to everyone. This is my first Unacademy class for this month. I have completed about 3 months of teaching. So, great to begin my fourth month here. Uh, as usual, I'm starting with the newspaper session. So today I'm going to analyze. There are going to be three classes on YouTube today. First of all, I'm going to analyze yesterday's newspaper. Then I'm going to do today's newspaper. That will be at 1:30. And finally, at 4 p.m., I will be taking you through the last session for April current affairs. I have already done the first session of April current affairs and the second. Today will be the third and the last session for April current affairs. You are very well aware that all these current affairs sessions they involve one class, three classes each from every month. So same trend to follow this time as well. So wonderful to have all of you guys. In fact, from yesterday's news, both the newspapers are of equal importance. Usually I pay greater importance to the Hindu, so I will do yesterday's Hindu, but I will also pay some attention on yesterday's Times of India because there are lots of important news stories from there. But first things first, let me just introduce all of you guys to what exactly does Unacademy stand for. So let's begin. um, so this is Unacademy's YouTube platform. We are India's largest online learning platform. We are present in several entrance examinations such as NEET, JEE, UPSC, Bank PO, SSC. We are also present in the school tuition segment, but right now the focus is on management because it's just 1.5 months away from the flagship examination, which is the CAT, always held in the end of November. So that is our primary target right now. So looking forward to serve all of you guys for that. I will be taking care of your general awareness classes, and this is a brief about myself. My name is Aritro Dasgupta. So I'm an MBA in forest management from the Indian Institute of Forest Management in Bhopal. I finished my MBA in the year 2010. My specialization is in the area of conservation and livelihoods. I've got over a decade's work experience in these areas: teaching, training, strategy consulting, executive recruitment, and in content writing. Right, my experience has predominantly been in India, but I've also worked in the Middle East and been published in North America. And finally, I've been associated with the coaching segment for the last half a decade. And during this period, rank holders to several examinations have been my students, such as those from CAT, CLAT, DUJAT, etc. So looking forward to continue on that great run. Most of them have till now been through offline contact classes, but this year I'm sure online as well I will be having great results. So for that, your cooperation is sought mostly. Right. So what all you will get as part of the Unacademy platform? One very good thing about our course, our pedagogy, is that we have a really structured course content. It's not that random ad hoc मैं आपको कुछ भी पढ़ा सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है. We have a well defined curriculum where of course we individual educators can modify, we can add value, but at least we have a broader trend. Similarly, you receive unlimited access to the classes. I don't tire of saying that Unacademy is like the Netflix of education. If you're enrolled once, you can keep adhering to the classes again and again and again. Right, there are also live tests and quizzes. Let me just explain to you how you can access these quizzes. I can see one more person has joined. Please say hello, whoever that is. Is that Soumya by any chance? anyway, this is the on the right hand side we have the live chat window. तो उस पे आप लोग टाइप कीजिए कुछ भी आपके सवाल हो, any questions you have. तो आपके कोई भी सवाल हो यहाँ पे पूछिए, एंड आई विल ऑल्सो कीप टेकिंग क्विजेस फ्रॉम यू गाइज, interacting with you guys there itself. Uh, there are also daily live classes. So this is our channel, Crack Management Exams. If you click onto this, you will be able to receive all the videos that I've taken. So quite a few sessions I have taken in the month of September. As I told you, this is my first in October. तो September के भी सारे sessions आपको वहाँ पे मिल जाएंगे. So do go ahead and follow us. This is a list of some of our top educators. You can see the number of followers and watch minutes they all have. This is another list of educators, but this is actually to show you the sample of how notifications are received. So अगर किसी को profit and loss में doubt हो तो तीसरा class attend कर सकते हैं. Just giving an example, these are all older screenshots, आज का नहीं है, but just to tell you how things work. There are also batches for syllabus completion, so you can actually form entire batches. There is one set of batch you can form with individual educators for one subject, like it's there at the bottom. Shukla ji ke saath only on grammar, only on RCs, that is possible. The other is for the entire course. So if you go on top, you will be able to take up the entire course. Right. We also have a schedule that works ideally for you guys. Even if you missed a live session, you can learn anytime, anywhere. I showed it to you how you can go through recorded classes. You will find in the archives from the comfort of your mobile phone, PC, or tablet. There is also no language barrier because we are present in 16 different languages. We've always believed that language is merely a means of communication, not a hindrance. So we are present in different languages. You may interact with the educator to get your doubts cleared. I've told it already to you. There's the live chat window. आप लोग please type कीजिए. I can see there are a couple of people who have joined this session. So please go ahead. There are live polls to be answered as well. वो YouTube में possible है, but this works even better on unacademy.com. So unacademy.com में my classes. I think tomorrow evening I have a class at 4 p.m. तो वहाँ पे I will share with you guys these live polls on a frequent basis, right? Yeah, I think light on my face is sort of missing, so I've just done something. Hopefully that improves the visibility at least a bit. Yes, I think it is better now. Anyway, so for live polls, please, I would suggest you come to unacademy.com. That platform is much more interactive. तो वहाँ पे काफी सारे live polls आपको मिलेंगे. There are live tests and quizzes as well. So one is something which we give you on the spot. Apart from that, you also have full length mocks which are from the back end. So उनको आप लोग obviously देख सकते हैं. Then there's a detailed report and analysis you receive from all your examinations. Per question, per event, you get receive detailed information, right? So that you know how to prepare. It's barely a month and a half away. So right now in the month of October, I know we have Diwali, Dashera, we have a lot of fun coming up. But still, जब भी आपको time मिले, give as many mocks as possible. This is your, main attempt at CAT. Come on, you can also go next year and the year after that. No issues there. But this year, if you're going for it, uh, keep giving as many mocks as possible. In October, don't stress yourself too much. Say 2 weeks before the final exam. अक्टूबर में आप लोग full length mocks दीजिए, देखिए where you stand versus the rest of the competition. Uh, there are detailed PDFs and learning material as well. There's a lot of material which is online, which you can download. Again, this is something which is possible on YouTube, but it works even better on the recorded sessions. So do go ahead on unacademy.com. So I would like all of you to read this. This is my code at the bottom. तो एक एक लाइन आप पढ़िए, आपको पता चलेगा कौन सा कोर्स आपके लिए बेस्ट है. I'll just fetch some water for myself and the newspapers. Right. I trust you've gone through this, and I think it is clearly evident that the longer term course you take up, it's much better for you. So go ahead for the minimum 12-month, maybe 24-month program if possible. Right. So on that note, I'm going to begin with the session. I'll start with the Hindu as usual. This is the newspaper which I'm gonna work on. Right. So first of all, there's really encouraging news which has emerged from the Health Ministry of India. Dr. Harshvardhan, the Union Health Minister, has himself confirmed after much analysis by the ICMR of the Indian Council for Medical Research. What has emerged is really encouraging news. So it seems that by July of next year, which is 2021, about one-fifth of all Indians could be vaccinated. July of next year, which is 2020. So I think this is really good news if it can be made possible. One-fifth of India is a massive population. So India's population, is about 1.3 billion. So about 260 million people, or 250 million ले लेते हैं. 250 million people can to be vaccinated by July needs massive production of doses. So apparently, it will be a double dose which will be given to everyone. A double dose, because that is most reliable. Who are the ones who will receive the first batch of the doses? Obviously, those who will be the frontline workers. And who are the frontline workers? We know they are health workers, doctors, paramedics, nurses, ASHA workers. ASHA workers are accredited social health activists. They are the ones who work on the ground, rural areas, small towns, urban slums. Midwives also are part of this group, right? Also, sanitary staff, surveillance officers, and others involved in the tracing, testing, and treatment of patients. So I think this is something which is going to require massive resource building as well. Capacity building. Capacity building क्या होता है? लोगों को train करना for certain skills. तो अराउंड 400 से 500 मिलियन डोजेस चाहिए होगा. मैंने आपको नंबर बताया 250 मिलियन पीपल. If each of them is to get a double dose, so that easily takes you to more than 400, about 500 million doses. So for that massive, the central government of India is planning a lot of work, such as capacity building in human resources, training, supervision, etc. Right? So the health minister confirmed all of this on his Sunday address, which is known as the Sunday Samvad. Right. So, what are these vaccine trials? We've already told you, but three of them are the front runners. One of them is Covishield, which has reached the phase 3 trials. This has been developed by the Oxford University. The mass production is going to be by the pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca, and will be produced in large quantity by the SII in Pune, or the Serum Institute of India, which is controlled by the Poonawalla brothers. Right. Fair enough. So that was the first case. The second important thing I want to discuss with you is regarding. So this was from the health ministry. Now some, and again, some encouraging news. So fortunately, we are starting today on a pretty good note. So the finance minister of India, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, she has confirmed that the yeah, she has confirmed that the virus, that the worst phase of the economy is probably over. India reached its peak load of coronavirus cases in the month of September. Fortunately, now she says that the worst is over. We are seeing fewer cases in the last couple of weeks, and I have discussed with you at length regarding this. So it seems India's probably past its peak, and likewise, we are probably past our worst economic phase as well, because there has been sort of a revival in the economy the last quarter. There have been some, I wouldn't say last quarter, at least the last month. And of course, with the festive season coming up, several industries to also get a fillip. So she says that over the next couple of months, we will definitely have an improvement in the economy. In spite of the caseload for COVID-19 sort of reducing, the Delhi government is not yet confident of opening up schools. I think you guys might be aware that as part of the Unlock 5 guidelines, schools have been given the permission, educational institutes, after 15th of October to restart, provided the respective state governments give the permission. So the state government of Delhi, however, has decided to keep schools closed till 31st of October. Colleges might start, but again, we don't have a final decision on that. Right? Okay. Uh, the next round of India-China talks will be held on the 12th of October to finally resolve the border disputes we've been having. In okay, there's another news from Assam politics. I think I will discuss with this you around about this in detail in the later pages, because on page 10 there are details on this. However, there is much detail about the Bihar election. A couple of news items I wanted to tell you regarding the Bihar election. The first of all, the political, shall we say, seat sharing has been decided by the opposition, which is the Mahagathbandhan. So it seems that the Rashtriya Janata Dal, the RJD, whose leader Shri Tejaswi Yadav will be the CM face of the Mahagathbandhan. So RJD will contest on 136 seats, and another 9 seats. So Bihar has total of 243 seats. 136 of them will be contested by the RJD. Its close ally, the VIP or the Vikashsheel Insan Party, led by former Bollywood set director Mr. Mukesh Sahni, they will be contesting on 9 seats. However, VIP does not seem happy. They might walk out of this alliance, and thus RJD might contest on all these 145 seats. Right. Moving further ahead, it seems that the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha has been allocated 2 seats near the Jharkhand border, although they might want a slight increase. The two communist parties, CPI and CPIM, will contest on 10 seats together. Most likely, it will be 8 for the CPI, 2 for the CPIM, but that is an internal decision within the left front. Another communist party, which is the CPIML, or the Communist Party of India Marxist Leninist. They are the strongest communist party within Bihar. They will be contesting on 18 seats. Even last time they had won a couple of Vidhan Sabha seats in spite of being not part of any of the two major alliances. So they do have a good presence. So if I count the numbers, 136 plus 9 plus 2 plus 10 plus 18, 175, that leaves us with 68 seats that will be contested by the second largest party in the coalition, which is the Congress party, contesting on 68 seats. So that is the deal about the Mahagathbandhan. The ruling NDA, however, there has been massive news. The JDU, or the Janata Dal United, and the BJP are set to contest on roughly equal number of seats. We don't know an exact figure. The JDU will allocate some of its seats to Hum Hindustan Awam Morcha, led by Shri Jitan Ram Majhi, maybe 10 to 12 seats. That's the expectation, maybe a bit more. BJP will allocate some of its seats to the third big party in the coalition, which is the LJP, Lok Jan Shakti Party, led by the Paswans, Ramvilas Paswan and his son Chirag Paswan. Mr. Ramvilas Paswan is actually a union minister right now, and he has been a union minister in the past as well. However, the LJP has partially walked out of the alliance. They say that they are in alliance with the BJP at the center and in the state, but not with the JDU. So they will be contesting on all the seats where the JDU or the Hum will have its candidates, but they will not put up candidates on seats which the BJP will be contesting. So this is a bit complex an equation. So let's just see how this works out. Um, Moving further on, so that is news from Bihar. So LJP has officially stated that they do not want Mr. Nitish Kumar as the CM again, but instead want somebody from the BJP to be the CM of Bihar. Sticking with the BJP has started the Graha Sampark campaign in Delhi. And there are some villages in Delhi as well with the farmers. So, in order to spread information regarding the new farm bills which has seen much protest. The farm bills are the Farmers' Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion Facilitation Act 2020. There's also the Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Service Act 2020, and finally the amendment to the Essential Commodities Act 2020. So these three primarily, which has seen protests in neighboring Punjab, Haryana, parts of Rajasthan and UP. So here as well in Delhi. So that it doesn't happen in Delhi, this thing has taken place. Right. There is a report by the High Court of Delhi which has confirmed that the Section 29 of POXO Act, POXO stands for Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. This will get triggered only once the trial begins, not before that. There is a report at the bottom of the page which is quite scary. This is about migrant workers from rural India and especially about the returning migrants. Many of them, fled Delhi during the worst of the pandemic and the ensuing economic crisis, as well as the lockdowns. But many of them did come back once the situation improved somewhat, and also because they did not get the promised jobs back home. However, many are seeing massive shock when they're returning back to Delhi or near Delhi. They are experiencing that a lot of the jobs they had left have already been filled up by somebody else or been completely replaced. So they are finding it very tough to make their ends meet. There is a lot of prestige for Indians that one very prominent Indian, the Chief Minister of Delhi, Shri Arvind Kejriwal, he has been invited by the United Nations to speak on a particular global climate talk and how the particular his city of Delhi is coping up with the annual farm fires. So this conference is known as the Daring Cities 2020. Daring Cities 2020, which was supposed to be held in the German city of Bonn. Bonn is not a very big city, but interestingly, it was the capital of West Germany during the during the Cold War when there were two different countries, East Germany and West Germany. Uh, and why was Bonn the capital? I'm digressing, but just a bit, because Bonn was never a big city. I mean, even in West Germany, you had big cities. Even after the loss or the temporary loss of Berlin, West Germany did have Munich, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, Hamburg, Bremen, Dusseldorf, Nuremberg. There were lots of big cities. But why did they opt for Bonn? Because that was the hometown of Konrad Adenauer. Konrad Adenauer was the first president of West Germany after the partition of Germany. Right. So anyway, so this conference, which is known as the Daring Cities 2020, this is being organized by the ICLEI and the city of Bonn. So it's part of the Daring Cities campaign, and who all will be speaking there? One is of course Sri Arvind Kejriwal, who's the Chief Minister of Delhi. There's also Mr. Antonio Gutierrez, who's the Secretary General of the UN. There's His Excellency Svenja Schulze, who is the Federal Minister of the Environment, Nature Conservation, and Nuclear Safety. So that's quite a few portfolios in Germany. Leaders from several other big cities in the world have also been invited to speak so that they can all discuss on what efforts their cities have taken and what they will further take in order to improve the situation on the ground. So, who are they? They are the leaders from Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. There's also Sao Paulo, which is not a capital, but the biggest city of Brazil. LA, again from California in the US, and there's Entebbe, which is in Uganda. So different continents represented: South America, North America, Africa, Europe, and Europe is because they're host born, and of course Asia. He's going to speak on the Pusa decomposer, which has come up, which is which could be a very good weapon in the fight against the farm fires and the pollution they cause. Talking about farm fires, the next couple of days are said to have pretty much moderate air quality. So we people who live in Delhi NCR fortunately have not yet. Um, I'm just going to connect the charger. Give me a moment, please. Yeah, so fortunately, we aren't yet at that stage where the air quality is poor, but it is getting poorer. It is going to be moderate for the next 3 days, as per the data. Just a moment. Yeah, right. As per the data provided by the SAFAR, SAFAR, which stands for System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research. Yeah, so the AQI remains at 184 right now, which is still in the moderate category. It was 189 on Saturday, 184 on Sunday. As per CPCB, the SAFAR monitor is done by the CPCB, which is Central Pollution Control Board. Right. In fact, the chief minister was also set to launch the anti-pollution campaign yesterday. And there's a particular app which will be launched. He wants massive participation by the residents of Delhi. So the Environment Minister Shri Gopal Rai will also be participating as an important face here. So this will have officials from Environment, Transport, Development, PWD, DDA, Delhi Jal Board, Traffic Police, and the municipal corporations. All the officials from these bodies will be part of this initiative. One of the rail zones in India is the NFR, or the Northeast Frontier Railway. Now that lockdown measures have somewhat been eased in the northeast of India, including the state of Tripura, so train services will actually start in Tripura. It's actually pretty new, this plane, and so limited train services have been launched. There's a special AC train operating between Delhi and Tripura, but and total of 12 pairs of trains which are being run. The Chief Minister of Tripura, Mr. Biplab Deb, he has requested the people to maintain shall we say, distancing norms. They are part of the DEMU trains, DEMU, which stands for Diesel Electric Multiple Unit, which is basically a combo of diesel and electricity. It's not pure electricity. In Odisha, there has been the case of land being acquired for industrial or mining operations. So there is quite a bit of, there have been protests as well. So there is quite a bit of discussion here regarding the protection of community land, or land that belongs to the entire community, and private individuals should not be having the right to sell them. That is the idea that several of the activists and the, government officials have. The Education Plus is an important supplement which arrives with the Hindu every Monday. So yesterday there was this very interesting announcement on a webinar series with the Nordic country of Finland. Finland wants to develop greater um, greater economic and trade ties with India, but more than that, also better, it wants to be seen as a viable investment option, as a viable place for people to move in because of its recently acquired cosmopolitan image. It wasn't so cosmopolitan earlier. So, as part of this webinar series, its future is made in Finland. So, lots of people can attend. It will begin from the 14th of October. There is also an article on one of the rising edtech companies, which is Neo Stencil, which was founded back in 2014, and talks about how there shouldn't be a digital gap, a digital divide in the country. And it's great, all those who are attending this session, you are part of the empowered people. So please do not let lockdowns or schools not reopening hurt your education. Please keep continuing accessing Unacademy classes. Right, and now moving on to the editorial page, and Right. So there is an article of what India should do until the vaccine is discovered and it is distributed in large numbers for COVID-19. There is also this report on the economy and how the purchasing managers index for manufacturing has worked out. There are actually mixed signals for GST. The future of GST hangs in the balance, says Mr. Praveen Chakravarti, who's a political economist and senior office bearer of the Congress party. So he's spoken about how we are right now at that cusp where GST has to really come up. Okay, now there is a very interesting. There's also an article regarding the border disputes. This is by by Sushant Singh, who is a journalist and a former officer of the Indian Army. So he has spoken about how there needs to be greater political ownership along the border, and the army's role is not of being external affairs, but simply as part of defense. So he has spoken about that. I'll just take a brief bio break and then I will continue. There are a couple of really important articles which I need to discuss. Just give me a moment, please. Right. So I guess I'm back. Right. So it's good to keep checking one's volume from time to time. Anyway, okay. So in 2016, there was a very important law which was passed by the government of the day, which was the IBC, or the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code. Now, what exactly is the IBC? Let me explain it to you. Insolvency and bankruptcy, they might sound similar. They are similar. They're not the same. So typically companies get bankrupt, individuals get insolvent. Now, कैसे होता है? Let me tell you. Students of commerce would probably already be aware, but for the others, so basically there are three major kinds of business ownership. One is sole proprietorship, where I am the pure owner. I'm the 100% owner. The second is a partnership where I am there with a group of people. Third is company where nobody as such, I mean, there are some owners, but there are many owners. There are small shareholders as well. Now, in a sole proprietorship, the liability is unlimited. So, if I am the owner of a business and if that business fails, and if I have taken loans from from the banks, and I need to return it back to the banks or the market, then even my personal property can be attached. My house, my assets, they can be attached. ठीक है. In a company, liability is limited only to the amount I have invested, and my personal property is separate. So owner and business are separate, whereas in a sole proprietorship, they are the same. In a partnership, it depends on agreement at the very start. So there is a limited liability partnership, there is an unlimited liability partnership. Limited liability is just like a company where my liability is limited only to the amount, and unlimited is when the personal property may be attached. तो ये agreement पहले से ही हो जाता है. Usually if there are greater one person has invested significantly more and is the bigger owner, usually उसका unlimited रहता है and बाकियों का limited रहता है, and whenever you have number of them who are on relatively equal footing, then it's usually all of them on limited basis. ठीक है, that's just a convention, not a rule as such. Now as part of the IBC, the yeah, so the IBC plans to protect these people, because the idea is that in a thriving economy, or in a economy which is somewhat capitalistic, at least as ours is to quite an extent, uh, one should have the freedom to fail in one's business. आप समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? तो अगर so insolvency word is used in a sole proprietorship or in a limited unlimited liability partnership. In a limited liability partnership or in a company, we call it bankruptcy. Right. So India had started with a Make in India plan. Then we upgraded it to Make for World. So not only we make in India, but we actually prepare for the world. We become a manufacturing and services hub for the planet. However, for that, one of the policy measures was this thing, because it encourages people to fail. Because if you don't fail, you will not learn. And if you're constantly worried about failure, then you will not start with new ventures, especially those which are risky, which require a lot of innovation. Furthermore, there was a particular law which was, so this of course was a code. There was also the a board which was set up, the IBBI, or the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which was created to look into this entire matter. And the MCA, which is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, looks into the overall matters as well. The MCA and the IBBI, they have especially been tasked with protecting the MSMEs. What are MSMEs? Micro, small and medium enterprises. So unko bachana is one of the primary tasks, which obviously they are the heartbeat of any economy. The more number of MSMEs means uh, it will actually work better. So this article being written by two very important people. One is Mr. Rajiv Kumar, who is the vice chairperson of the Niti Aayog, and also there is Mr. Desh Gaurav Sekhri, who is an officer on special duty also with the Niti Aayog. And they've spoken about the legal method and how things need to be handled. Finally, there's also an article by Miss Vandana Prasad. She's a regular columnist on The Hindu. She's a community pediatrician and public health professional, former member of the NCPCR. Also written by Mr. Shantanu Sinha, who's a former chairperson of the NCPCR. What exactly the NCPCR? It's a National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. So this article talks about how the commission has been misguided at times, and more needs to be done in order to protect children, also to better monitor child care institutions, or CCIs. Several cases have been outlined here, some of them referring to some of the tragic uh, rape cases in recent times to minors, has also been highlighted here. Right, I'm done with the editorial. Now let's move on to some of the local pages. Most of it I have already spoken about. One of the ministers in Karnataka government, Mr. C.T. Ravi, he's the Karnataka tourism minister. Karnataka is a state famous for tourism, but he has tendered his resignation from the Yeddurappa government, because he has recently been appointed as a general secretary, as a national general secretary by the BJP. So he says he cannot take care of two posts simultaneously. There has been a study by several medical teams, especially by a Hyderabad-based team led by at the KIMS hospital by Dr. B. Higriv Rao. He has cited some cases where post COVID-19, the heart there is a lot of stress which people face. This stress is normal. There's nothing to be too alarmed about. There are a lot of cases where this kind of stress is being diagnosed as heart attack. So let us not get too dramatic, says this extremely respected cardiologist. He specifically cites a case from about a patient from Chhattisgarh, where such a thing was misunderstood. There have been some cases recently of curbs being slammed on the media. So the Editors Guild of has actually slammed these curbs. With the bipoles coming up in Madhya Pradesh as well, 27 seats, the High Court of Madhya Pradesh has recommended that there should be virtual campaigns rather than much of the real ones, because that could lead to social distancing being flouted. Right. There's a particular scheme in Andhra Pradesh known as the Jaganna Vidya Kanuka, which was for free distribution of kits to students in government schools. This was, however, has been postponed to 8th of October due to, by then the procurement of these kits will improve. They'll further increase actually. The Hills Wildlife Sanctuary in Karnataka will now receive greater surveillance. Surveillance had actually dropped, and a couple of cases have been discovered of wildlife being killed or poached. For example, deer meat worth 20 kgs was just illegal. Of course, that was caught recently. Fair enough. I'll move on to the next couple of pages. Maximum new cases of COVID-19 are coming up in the state of Karnataka. There was a crucial GST Council meet yesterday as well. An MLA from the ruling BJU Janata Dal in Odisha has passed away, Shri Pradeep Maharathi. Uh, while in Assam, the former Chief Minister Shri Tarun Gogoi still remains in ICU. He's 85 years old and has been admitted to the GMCH or the Guwahati Medical College and Hospital. He has not yet fully recovered. Sticking with Assam, there is very important political news. The Congress has confirmed they will be contesting next year's elections in coalition with the AIUDF, or All India United Democratic Front, a party which is led by Shri Badruddin Ajmal, uh, who is an MP from Assam. So they will be fighting in a coalition along with some of the left parties, the CPI and the CPIM. This, of course, is to keep away the NDA, which comprises mainly the BJP and the AGP, Assam Gana Parishad, out of. They are, of course, in power right now. They will be fighting them. There's also the Bodo People's Front, but the BPF has, has had a slight, you know, the relations are not great apparently with the BJP because of the Bodo Accord, which was signed with some of the rival groups, rival factions from the BPF. Of course, that could be rectified very soon. We don't really know much about it. Um, Now, this very interesting news from Paytm, and its owner, Mr. Shekhar Sharma, he has confirmed that he's also the CEO right now. So he has confirmed that Paytm will set up a mini app store for Indian developers. I think you know the case of Paytm being delisted from Google Play Store recently. So as a response, there will be a mini app store which will be set up, which will comprise several Indian companies such as Decathlon. All of them will not be Indian companies, but for even foreign companies with the India offices. So Ola, for example, will be one. There's also Park Plus. There's Rapido, NetMeds, 1MG, Fresh Menu, No Broker, as well as Domino's Pizza and Decathlon, the Indian wings of these two companies. Domino's Pizza, of course, originally from the US, while Decathlon is from France, but their Indian bodies will be part of this. This Play Store will be, this App Store will be linked to Paytm as well as the national UPI for ease of payments. Right. Moving on further, on the international pages, Donald Trump was set to return back to the White House yesterday after he, of course, got infected with COVID-19. From China, meanwhile, Xi Jinping, he is seeking closer ties, political ties with Bangladesh, and actually looking for a BRI push, which is the Belt and Road Initiative, and that Bangladesh should be a significant member of this grouping. I've told you earlier about the fight between two of the smaller countries from Europe, Azerbaijan and Armenia. These two countries should. So Azerbaijan now says that its second biggest city of Ganja, Ganja, that was actually hit by Armenian, by Armenia. So now there will be a retaliation from Azerbaijan. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, has reopened the city of Mecca, the holiest city for Muslims, for pilgrimage once again. So the number of visitors will be increased slowly and steadily on a per day basis. There's an Afghan woman, her name is Miss Fawzia Kufi, who's actually a negotiator. She was a negotiator in the Doha round of talks with the Taliban. So she leads the Nobel Front Runner list for Peace Prize this year. The Medicine and Physiology Award was also awarded yesterday to three scientists, two Americans, one person from the UK for the development of the hepatitis C vaccine. She, meanwhile, is a front runner for the Peace Prize. Tens of thousands continue the protests in Minsk, the capital of Belarus. Boris Johnson, meanwhile, the Prime Minister of the UK, says that his country can prosper under no Brexit deal, no deal Brexit as well. There's a small country called New Caledonia. It's actually a group of islands in the South Pacific, deep far Pacific. It's much closer to Antarctica than it is to, say, Asian mainland. So New Caledonia has been a French colony for about 150 years. A referendum was held 2 years back, and a referendum was held again now, and both of them have rejected independence from France. They are happy to remain part of France. The French president, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, meanwhile, has thanks of India. From the world of sports, all football fans, today's next session, where I will be discussing today's newspaper, I will give a detailed roundup of all the transfers, because yesterday was the transfer deadline in Europe. You cannot have any more transfers till 1st of January. There is a brief window within England for transfers with the junior division clubs, but you can't transfer within your own league or from other European or international clubs. You can't do that anymore. So I'll give you a detailed round of the best transfers and the hottest transfers. Hottest in the sense they were the most glamorous ones. The best, obviously, is the shrewd signing. So I'll have a detailed discussion on that. But for now, that'll be in the next session, which starts at 1:30. I'll actually show you a proper tracker in that class. This is my code. You can take a look once again, AD09. So once you enroll, do make use of this one to get a better deal. You get a flat 10% off. Meanwhile, starting with the IPL, Shane Watson and Faf du Plessis had a 181 run stand, which helped the CSK or the Chennai Super Kings defeat the Kings 11 Punjab. While Quinton de Kock and Trent Bolt did likewise extremely well for the Mumbai Indians. Mumbai Indians scored 208 with Quinton de Kock scoring 67. Kieran Pollard scored a good handy 25 not out later on. Rashid Khan continued with his good form, picking up a wicket for 22 runs from 4 overs. Economy rate less than 6 is brilliant for a 2020 game. The Sunrisers Hyderabad could only score 174 in response. Trent Bolt was, of course, he picked up 2 wickets for 28 from 4 overs. Right, Jasprit Bumrah also picked up 2 wickets. Right. Moving on to the last page of the Hindu, as I said, I will also analyze the Times of India. Quite a few important stories there. Uh, So Diego Dallo has completed a loan move to AC Milan, the Portuguese fullback from Manchester United. There was the horrible news from English football. Horrible for me, let's put it that way. Manchester United losing 6-1 at home. It's the worst defeat in decades, probably at least at Old Trafford, losing against Tottenham Hotspurs, for whom Son Heung-min scored a double. Harry Kane, I think, also scored a double, and a couple of other goals scored. I think Tonji and Ndombele scored one. And there's one more by somebody else. And in a really shocking day, Aston Villa also defeated Liverpool 7-2. What's happened to the world of defending? Where have defenders gone? United and Liverpool conceding 13 goals in a matter of 4 hours. That's just absolutely shocking. Um, so, reading out all the results, Leicester City too had a. I mean, they defeated Man City last week convincingly, but now they lose 3-0 to West Ham United. It's getting a crazy season. Michael Antonio's had such a good start to the season. He scored one of the goals. The Welshman Jared Bowen scored another, and the Spaniard Fornal scored the third. He actually scored the second. Bowen scored the third. Southampton beat West Brom 2-0. Another Spaniard, Oriel Romeo, on the score sheet for Southampton. Arsenal defeating Sheffield United 2-1. Sheffield United finding sort of second season blues after a terrific first season. Nicolas Pepe and Bukayo Sako scoring the two goals for Arsenal. Wolves snapping their defeat last week against West Ham, but they defeated Fulham 1-0 thanks to goal by Portuguese player Pedro Neto. I told you about Manchester United. Serge Aurier, in fact, he scored the other goal, which the sixth one. Moving on to Italy in the Serie A, Atalanta, they continue their free scoring means, defeating Cagliari 5-2. Uh, Mario Pasalic, the Croatian midfielder, scoring one of the goals. Duvan Zapata, the Colombian, also scored a goal. For Cagliari, Diego Godin, the legendary Uruguayan centre back, did get pull a goal back, but wasn't enough. Benevento beat Bologna 1-0. Parma beat Verona 1-0. Lazio, with a goal from the Serbian midfielder Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, could only draw against Inter Milan, for whom Lautaro Martinez scored the only goal. In the La Liga, Osasuna beat Celta Vigo 2-0. Levante lost to Real Madrid at home with goals from Vinicius Junior and Karim Benzema. Alaves, meanwhile, beat Athletic Bilbao 1-0. Uh, in the Bundesliga, VfL Wolfsburg drew with Augsburg 0-0. Both the teams. Bayern Munich scored four against Hertha Berlin. All four goals scored by Robert Lewandowski. Hertha Berlin, too, for their parts, did score three goals, with goals from the Colombian striker John Cordoba, the Brazilian winger Matias Cunha. Uh, yeah, they scored two of the three goals. Leeds United in England drew with Man City. What a crazy game. Marcelo Bielsa against Pep Guardiola, the two of the top tactical managers in world football, going head to head. So that was pretty interesting. Raheem Sterling scored the only goal for City, while new signing Rodrigo scored the only one for Leeds. Newcastle beat Burnley 3-1 with goals from Alain Saint-Maximin, and also two goals from new signing Callum Wilson, including a penalty. Burnley had a goal by Westwood. In Italy, Sassuolo defeated Crotone 4-1, while Udinese lost at home to AS Roma. The only goal scored by former Barcelona and Chelsea winger Pedro Rodriguez. I should call him an attacking wide forward, not a winger. He's not really somebody who crosses the ball much. In Spain, Real Sociedad won 3-0 against Getafe, while Valencia lost at home to Real Betis, where, interestingly, former Real Madrid midfielder Sergio Canales scored one of the goals. Right, so I'm sort of done with the, shall we say, the Hindu. Let me quickly move on to the Times of India. As I told you, a couple of stories from here which are unique. So there is this detailed report on how to, initially when COVID-19 came up, there was a lot of report that this year people should not run their ACs because, in cold weather, these viruses survive longer. So there is this detailed report on how one can actually use your ACs during the COVID-19 fight. There's also this story, very interesting story from the state of Chhattisgarh, where historically the Indian armed forces or the paramilitary forces and the Maoists, they have obviously been at loggerhead, but there is a particular uh, particular incident where they have come together. In Hyderabad, meanwhile, you said to have the municipal elections. Usually, it is beer and biryani, which is sort of sold to the, which is distributed to the people. But now the government says they will be giving masks and paracetamols, to the people who will be coming to vote. One of the major property disputes in the country belongs to the city of Rampur in Uttar Pradesh. So it's a 47-year-old property dispute. Rampur was earlier famous for the famous Rampur hound, also for a particular kind of a knife from there, known as the Rampuri chaku. Its cuisine is also pretty famous, but this dispute is right on top of 47-year-old history dispute. So now there are few more claimants who have come in. So I'm sure it's going to drag for at least a few more years, it seems. Right. Apart from this, I just wanted to discuss a couple of things. In Haryana state as well, lectures for college students can take place on TV. Meanwhile, in the NCR, for the first time ever, an albino snake has been spotted. It is, in fact, only the second sighting in India in 8 years. Albino beaked worm snake, that's the name of this particular snake. It was only identified once earlier in India, back in 2012 in Maharashtra. Its scientific name is the Gripoptilops acutus, and it has been spotted in the Mangar area of Haryana between Gurugram and Faridabad. Between Gurugram, Faridabad, and Nu. Mm, Besides the talk on how ACs can be used for COVID-19, there's also this report on how to save your money, save your electricity bills. Couple of districts in Haryana and Punjab have already been labeled as having toxic air, especially in Punjab. So in Punjab, it's the districts of Amritsar, Ludhiana, Taran Taran, Faridkot, Firozpur, Batinda, Mansa, Patiala, and Sangrur. So around 8, 9 districts I mentioned. In Haryana, there are fewer. It's Hisar, Sirsa, and Kaithal. Which have been identified by the IIT Delhi CERCA, or the Center for Excellence for Research on Clean Air. With further expansion of the metro already being approved, there is this report on how metro lines are set to meet up, and how that will lead to greater amount of, shall we say, economic activity in parts of Delhi and NCR. Meanwhile, there is this report on how there is high salinity in certain parts of the farms, and thus farming makes it difficult. But now there is a very good solution. It's been a 1 year pilot project which has reclaimed land through bio drainage process. This has been in Pataudi, which is just outside the city of Gurugram. So, a couple of eucalyptus trees have also been planted here to help out in the, shall we say, extraction of this salt. There is a natural method through which it works. There's some slightly alarming weather report in Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Could see very heavy rains, maybe not a cyclone, fortunately, but there's a depression which has been observed on the Bay of Bengal, which typically leads to cyclone like symptoms. Hathras in UP has been a lot in the news due to the obvious tragic rape recently. So Hathras is, there's a report on the city of Hathras and how Swami Vivekananda's first ever disciple was actually from this place. Some fruits have been missing from the Nilgiri mountains in recent years, because they were traditional oranges, all naturally grown, but their cultivation has really suffered in the last few years. There are several reasons for that. One of them is some viral diseases there was an outbreak of. There is also the human animal conflict, especially from sloth bears, who seem to have who often encroach this land and destroy they love these oranges. Also, there's a massive monkey menace poor management practices. These sloth bears predominantly stray into tea gardens. So not just these fruits, but also the tea gardens which are adjoining, attracted by these fruits, especially these oranges and peaches and pears and plums. Orange, plum, pear, and peach. These are the main four fruits, mostly citruses, as we can see. So these were extremely juicy and tasty, so say the locals, but they have for quite a while not been cultivated much. So, but this year, new fresh efforts have been made by the Karnataka government's horticulture department, sorry, the Tamil Nadu government's horticulture department, so that the nilgiris may be cultivated for these fruits once again. Hopefully, this will, because we do need crop biodiversity. We don't want just the cereals being produced, not just rice wheat. We want massive biodiversity from health as from crops as well, right? There was this historic opening of the Atal Tunnel on the 3rd of October. So I didn't have a session that day, so I couldn't speak about it. But that's been a massive development, and now the distance, which was earlier took 6 hours from Lahore Spiti district of Himachal to Leh in the Union Territory of Ladakh, will now take barely 1 hour. In fact, maybe less than 1 hour. And every few 10 meters, about 100 meters, you even have CCTV cameras and stuff. So lighting as well. So also the security will be very well taken care of. I am dying to actually visit that place because the not had these road trips for so long. So that is something which should be fun. Moving to the east part of the country, from the far north towards Bihar, the Election Commission of India has appointed expenditure observers for the Bihar election. Their task will be to ensure that the funding limits are maintained by the political parties. The founder president of the Lok Janshakti Party, Sri Ram Vilas Paswan, whom, as I said, is a union minister, meanwhile has undergone heart surgery. He and his party are said to be could be interesting players in this upcoming Bihar elections. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has assured his supporters and the people of America and the world that his condition will get better pretty soon. And his condition is already better, and he will be back to office very soon. You're probably aware he was affected by COVID 19. The city of Venice in Italy, famous for being located on water and famous for their gondolas. So the city has now opened its long delayed underwater barriers. It'll protect the lagoon from tides which can peak up to 130 centimeter, which would inundate half the city. But for that, there will be protection now. In order to survive against the COVID 19, even the Royal Opera House in London wishes to sell some of its paintings. Uh, this does show how deep the economic crisis is right now worldwide. Now, moving on to the business pages, card users will gain significantly now from interest on interest waiver, which has been mooted now. Indian companies, meanwhile, are planning an alliance against the US tech firms. These are typically known as consortiums, and then they take place when, even though you are rivals, you come together for something bigger. Google and Amazon, of course, bearing down on everybody. So that is why this Paytm thing, which I was talking about, can have a major impact. The Tata Group, meanwhile, is in talks to buy the 49% stake in AirAsia. It has a particular JV right now, but wants to buy up the entire 49% as well. Moving on to the editorial of the Times of India. There is this interesting article by Ms. Sagarika Ghosh, one of the most renowned journalists from India. She does lament that the Bihar elections there will be less movement of the media. Media, they love to cover elections. So she, as a highly experienced journalist, does talk about how इस बार दूर से cover करना पड़ेगा remotely because of social distancing norms, and that does rob people of the fun. There will be no litti chokha to be tasted on the street, that sort of a thing. Right. The rest of it has pretty much already been covered. So that is something uh, very important. Dalit ideologue, Sri Chandra Bhan Prasad, he has given out his article on subaltern politics. So he's actually mentioned some of these things, but that's not very relevant from a cat perspective. So, but you can actually focus on the other things like sports and business are of massive importance. So just a month and a half remaining, and even the IIFT exam is not far away. So guys, please put all your focus now. There is very little time now, so give your best in the upcoming period. Right, so I'm going to keep the session open for a couple of minutes so that you can come up with any doubts in case you have. So do watch out for the other class which I have today at 1:30 p.m. So where I'll be analyzing today's newspaper, and there will be details on the transfer market which just closed yesterday. And then at 4 p.m. I've got the class for April current affairs. Fair enough. I think we can wrap up the session now. Thank you so much, guys. See you all very soon in just a couple of hours this time. I think 2.5 hours this time. So, thank you, everyone. I'm closing it down now.